Hey, listen, if there is a very big tragedy that can never happen as far as the finance is concerned, is when two spenders actually tie a knot and say, hey, we're gonna live together. Let me tell you one thing. And by the way, these guys usually have what we call the tendency of attracting each other. What do I mean by spenders? These are the people who use money or spend money uncontrollably, uncontrollably. You find this guy actually spend their money without even monitoring how exactly it's happening. And you find they actually, if you ask them, hey, you had like 20K like last month or last week, where is it? I don't even know what happened. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm trying to take a pen and paper and trying to monitor exactly what's happening in my life. I cannot even explain. Let me tell you one secret. And you can just imagine this. If two of them actually come together and form one body, you can just imagine how it will be in that house. Because let me tell you one secret. When it comes to money, obviously spending is not a bad thing. But overspending, that's where the issue comes in. Because you see, spending is not bad. But spending with a budget, it's okay. In most cases, you find these guys usually overspend this money, or these spenders, they do not have something called budget. They don't have it. The moment they see money or the moment money shows up on their doorsteps, all they think is about spending the money. We call them the thrift shoppers, or no? This is the spend thrift. These are the people who use money without any cause. All right, so you can just imagine when those two guys come together. Because let me tell you one secret. When you guys come together as a family, one thing that you're supposed to understand, I always tell people, it's good to make sure that at least all the way before you say, hey, yes, I do, try to monitor and check this kind of an individual whom you're getting on board with. Because some of these guys, you would like to know their characters, and we usually take a lot of time to find out, dig into the information about this individual as far as the social aspect is concerned. But when it comes to money, you're supposed to understand some factors here and there. You're supposed to understand, how do they perceive money, how do they spend money, what the kind of the personality do they have, because we have different types of personalities as far as the money is concerned. For example, we have the people who we call them the hoarders. We have hoarders. Those are the guys who, when they get the money, they hold it. And you tell them to invest, they're so skeptical. You say, hey, no, 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 no. You see, money is a scarce thing. It's not out there. You're supposed to hold it still. Don't spend any money. You have to. These guys, they actually even come to a point whereby they can, from the hoarders, we can deduce some two personalities, like we can call them frugalists or frugal people. We have others called like the minimalist or minimalism or something of sort, and others kind of call them mean or something of sort, and all those kind of things. So the holders actually tend to hold the money. They don't want to invest the money. They just concentrate on storing the money. They don't want to grow the money and all those kind of things. All right. The other personality of money that we have is another personality called, by the way, I'm going to make a whole video about this information so that you understand by the time you're making a decision of living with that individual, you already know what personality they hold and how to handle them along the way. The other personality, you find that the people who we call them are spenders, and that's what we are talking about today. And the other personality, you can call them, we can just give them a name like investors or risk takers or something of sort. So like, let's say like investors or something, or let's just call them investors or something of sort. So it's good to understand what kind of an individual this, or whom you're dealing with, because sometimes you find like whenever you kind of bring an investor and a spender together, when you bring an investor and spender together, you find these guys, they tend to rub shoulders quite a while. You know why? Because the investors concentrate on understanding that, hey, when money shows up, I'm supposed to dedicate a certain portion of it towards the investment, even if that means sacrificing some of the things that makes me happy. And if you try to sell that information to the spenders, guess what happens? They actually develop that what we call the defense mechanism. Others tend up to be very, very extreme in terms of responding to you. They tell you, hey, life is for the living, life is short, both the kind of things. And hey, they just justify why they are spending and all those kind of things. Now you can imagine this, at least when you have two different individuals who approaches money in a different way, like the investors and the spenders, when you bring this together, at least one cancels each other. At least the spenders trying to bring the investors to a point where, hey, you know what, we didn't need to enjoy yourself as much as you want to invest in all those kind of things. And the other party now, hey, you know what, you don't spend all the money, you can just set a certain portion of it towards investments and what have you. So see, when you bring those two people who are antagonists, they kind of help each other. But what I would prefer is getting on board people who have what we call, it is sort of a delicate balance. You have to have what we call a balance, a balance between spending, a balance do spending and also investing. You understand when is to invest and when is to spend. If you can have an understanding of these two, you know very well, I earned like 30,000 at the end of the month. Out of this 30,000 at the end of the month, I actually set aside, let's say, a certain amount of money. Because if you do not understand what you're supposed to spend and what you're supposed to invest, then at the end of the day, spending becomes easier. It's actually, spending is far much easier compared to investing. So it's good to understand the type of an individual whom you're dealing with. Now, the point was, you bring these two people together, they are spenders. Whenever the money shows up, let's say both of them are employed, and whenever the money shows up at the end of the month, assuming they are get paying at the end of the month, so all of them, they are spendthrifts. They think about going outing and all those kind of things. You can just imagine, when they are young, they are very productive. And one thing that you're supposed to understand is that with time, you realize, if you were to draw a graph like this and just say like, production, here you write production, and down here you write something like, let's say, you can just write age. Right? So one thing that you're supposed to understand is that when you are young, you tend to be more productive, but when a certain age comes in, you achieve sort of a flat sort of a curve like that, and then it goes down. So what happens is that if you do not do something in between this phase, from this phase to this phase, we usually call it the exponential phase, exponential phase. If you do not do nothing in this particular point, meaning at this particular point you're supposed to be investing, this particular point, actually you can afford to go even without lunch. You can even skip something. That means you have to sacrifice. All right, sacrifice. And this particular point is when by you do something that is called planning for the sort of a retirement and all those kind of things. That means that you have to do what we call the future plans. Right? So by the time now you're coming to this particular point here, there is this particular phase whereby neither what you're getting in and what is coming out like brings sort of a big difference. Like everything seems as if it's okay. All right. And by the time now, this is at around, let's say, 40 to 50 years. Yeah. And this particular age, then you realize the senescence, like you're now going down, the curve is going down, the productivity goes low, the understanding goes low, the time to actually read and understand new things actually goes low, and all those kind of things. Actually, now the body start now to ask more of their attention and all those kind of things. So if you did nothing at the exponential phase, then it means that you're gonna suffer a lot at this particular phase. And let me tell you one secret. Back when I was in school, my teacher used to tell me like, you just choose when you want to sacrifice. You can decide to sacrifice now when you have the energy, when you can afford to go without eating. You sacrifice, you read, and become a productive citizen. Or you can decide to sleep now and enjoy your moment, enjoy your youth and what have you, and then you wake up early in the morning. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. Just, in life, it's all about making a matter. It's a choice. You choose when you want to sacrifice, because at the end of the day, you have to sacrifice. Whether now or later, you have to sacrifice. So what you do as a smart person is to weigh, when will be the most appropriate time for me to sacrifice? Is it now when I have the energy? Is it now when I have, the capability of, assuming or going without some things? And later, when I do not have the energy and all those kind of, for example, let's take a very simple example. Right now, as we speak, right now, if you are young, you can afford to spend a whole day without taking a tea. Now, dare do that to an old person. Hey, they tell you, know what, do anything else, but don't separate me with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, because that's how they are, all right? So the point is this, at the end of the time, there's somewhere you have to sacrifice. So you see, you bringing on board spenders, both spenders, and I always tell people, especially those guys who are out there and they're thinking of one day to get married and they're dating and what have you, and you do not understand your partner as far as the money is concerned, that's very dangerous. You're supposed to understand them, get to know, hey, if you expose them to finance, how do they react? Are they calm, collected, and cool? Or are they loud? Are they spenders? How do they react? What do they perceive these to do in the investments? Do they even understand what is an investment? What areas have they ever invested on before? What areas do they look forward into investing? And again, how much do you invest? How much are you supposed to save? And do they save? Have they been saving? How much have they saved? All those serious questions. And I know by the time you're asking this question, you'll be able to understand, hey, this individual does this or that the other. So by the time you're saying, hey, yes, I do, okay, and you bring them on board, then at that particular point, already there's individual whom I'm dealing with, hey, they're like this or the other. So by the time you say you guys, you're on your 5th, 6th, or 10th year in your marriage, and something crops up, you're not scared, or like, you're not like, hey, I'm not, I'm not getting some surprises out of this, because I already knew this individual, from the word go. So the point is this, guys, that Understand your partner, understand the individual whom you're dealing with, understand that if they are spenders, I don't want to say you guys kill the relationship that you're having, but if they're teachable, because we always say like, hey, guess what? All these skills are, we say all these skills are actually learnable. If you realize this person does not have what we call the management skills, these skills are actually learnable. It's a skill that you can actually, hey, sit down, talk with them and relax and have a discussion between the two of you and say, hey, you know what? Would you mind if I tell you the truth? They say yes or no. And if they are they have what we call high IQ, they say, yeah, no problem. You see, if somebody is aiming at getting the utmost best thing out of anything, and you tell them, hey, guess what? Yeah, I understand that I should be telling you great things and good things, how great you are, beautiful, or handsome you are. But guess what? There's something I want to tell you. And because I'm your true friend, I'm going to tell you this thing, and no matter how you're going to take it. And when they say yes, amazing. You sit down with them and tell them, hey, you know, guess what? Well, I understand for that quite a long time that we've been with you. I understand this is how you love things, and that's quite an amazing thing, right? And this is how I view my things. This is how I love as far as the finance and all those kind of things. So if you don't bring forth this conversation, then you're gonna make yourself a very, very, a hard time. And also say you guys are already married and you spend at the both of you. And that's why I always advise, hey, guess what? You can always grab my number from the description of this specific video. Give me a call. I usually offer what we call the family financial package. You can invite me, as a family. I sit you down, we talk about money, and guess what? My services is not, these kind of a conversation that is full of a lot of, complicated languages and what have you. I talk real things, real relatable things in life, and we have a discussion. We put it on the table. We discuss, hey, how do you perceive finance? How do you perceive finance? Hey, guess what? This is how it's supposed to be. And also, I learn also from you guys, because that is exactly what we are supposed to do. So if you would like to, get that family package as far as the finance is concerned, we can do this physically, online, or virtual. Yeah, we can do so. So I offer those services, and for just a cup of coffee, you get the financial literacy. I understand there is a lot of families that are out there. They have the money, or they do have what we call an exposure to the money, but how to retain it, to invest it and grow it, that's where they draw the line. Because let me tell you one secret. Success of any given individual is not measured on how much they make or they're able to bring in, but how much they're able to retain, retain and grow. Because the point here is not just retaining, is retaining and growing it. That's what brings the difference between person A and B. And that's why you find like most of the people say, hey, you know what? I feel like ladies are so much good at this because, hey, women, we can draw a man who is earning like 100 G's a month, and he has two kids, and you bring another single mother somewhere, he has the same number of kids, two kids, and say they're earning the same amount of money, and then you find like the lady doing far much things. Yeah, because you never know. Yeah, I know there are some other parameters to be compared here. A man may be committed to one, two, three things and what have you. That may be true. But the point is this, ladies tend to be good managers when it comes to money and management and all those kind of things. But it's quite unfortunate, again, they also happen to be the best spenders and what have you. So it's also good to make sure that you understand. You see, ladies are quite amazing, because if you can actually teach them how to manage, they can actually do so. And at the same time, if you show them how to manage, they just amplify whatever you're going to show them. That's it. That's the point. All right. So anyway, guys, guess what? Before I say this is the end of my video, just like I said, you can grab my number from the profile bio, or you can see that there's a description of this specific video. Give me a call. Offer those services. And again, make sure that you can grab my booklets about finance. I have them. A copy it's only 290, or rather 280 for your sake. I also have other business plans and what have you. Anyway, for now, it's a goodbye. But don't forget, like that button, and as well, comment down below, and make sure that you subscribe, because you don't want to miss any of my good videos in future. For now, it's a goodbye. See ya.